Yo. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Fandom Frequency Network. You know what it's all about around here. Everything in the world of pop culture. You name it, we talk about it. And today, we're talking about the latest and possibly one of the greatest new additions to the Predator franchise. That thing has been in the recycle bin for a minute, but we are back in action in 2022 with Prey, a prequel, prequel, if you will, taking place in, I think, 1719, I believe it is. And this one's directed by 10 Cloverfield Lane director. One of my favorite up-and-comers right now. That is definitely one of my favorite recent thrillers of the last 10, 15 years. Love 10 Cloverfield Lane. Might have to do a review for that on the channel one of these days. And if you haven't checked that out after this review, check out Prey and then check out 10 Cloverfield Lane. Great stuff. But with no further ado, with no further distraction, let's get right into this thing, man. And we're here with the latest edition of the franchise. Prey went straight to Hulu, literally dropped today as of the recording of this video, y'all. And I gotta say, I had super duper duper low expectations going into this thing. I am a huge fan of the original, but when it comes to a lot of the sequels and remakes, whatever you want to call it, not a huge fan of them. Predators is okay. Solid film, it's okay. Not too bad. Predator 2, a lot of fun. Haven't watched it since like damn near middle school, elementary, so it's been a long damn time. But I remember having a lot of fun with it. Gary Busey's a blast. Danny Glover, hunting gangsters in LA. What's not to like, man? But when it comes to pretty much the rest of the franchise, I either hate, dislike, or barely can get through the rest of them. Alien vs. Predator 1 was okay in Antarctica and all that. At least it was R-rated, so I appreciate the R-rated cut of that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, or was it the second one? Anyway, regardless, the first AVP, decent. But the rest of the franchise essentially sucks and never reached the heights of the 87 original, with our boy Schwarzenegger, of course, Carl Weathers, Shane Black on the script, and in the film, talking about, big vagina jokes and all of that. But yeah, man, with this latest installment, they're going back to basics, taking it back to its roots and going more into the horror thriller aspect of it while still giving it a nice heavy dose of action, but more visceral action and violence going on. More about the Predator just going after its prey. After its prey. And this thing's hunting animals, and it's hunting natives in the Comanche tribe up in this one. And we do got some crazy stuff going on with the Predator, man. He's a little bit more low maintenance on this one. He's got the spaceship. He's got the, the invisibility cloak and all that shit. And he's still got the infrared vision with the mask, but they got a whole new redesign of the mask and the Predator itself. We'll get more into that later. But overall, I gotta say, love the initial setup of this film. And overall, if I gotta give my overall thoughts of it off top here, I would say I dug this movie, man. It's a fun time. Now, wouldn't say it's great per se. Wouldn't say it's as good as the original, of course. But I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, fresh off of watching it right now, I do think this is the best Predator continuation, possibly since the original. Predator 2, I might have to give it a fresh rewatch just to see, but I do believe this is a little better than that one for sure. So I do think this is the second best Predator film in the franchise. And obviously, it's a little bit of a low bar, but I'm glad in 2022 we finally got to see them rise above that, because Terminator, Dark Fate's okay, but they're still a little in the dumps. Alien definitely needs a new direction it's heading in. Fede Alvarez is producing a film or TV series or something like that, so that whole side of the sci-fi multiverse, if you will, is going on. But with this film, man, you got a really solid cast here. A lot of up-and-coming actors, not necessarily a lot of big names. But you actually do have a lot of native people in the film playing the Comanche tribe. So I definitely dig that authenticity with the casting there. But you got Amber Midthunder as kind of our lead character here in Nauru. And her brother, Tabe, played by Dakota Beavers. I believe he's native as well. And, yeah, man. And you got a new guy playing the Predator now, Dane DeLagrio. That's how I'm going to do it. My bad if I butchered it or sounded stereotypical, but I'm trying to do it right. DeLazio plays the Predator himself, and not a lot of big names up in this thing, which I definitely appreciate with this one. I did like how they had a lot of great actors in the previous one with Shane Black back in 2019 or whenever the hell that shit bomb was, but like I just said, it's shit. So it was really a bummer to see them waste that awesome cast of great solidified actors and some of the best ones working today and just some solidified good up-and-comers and stuff. Completely wasted them. Not this film. This film, Dan Trachtenberg, as the director and the casting department, took full advantage of having up-and-comers in this film. You really could just buy into the tribe, buy into the time period, even when they run into the French dudes, whoever those guys are later on, midway through the film, after the Comanches already started to have beef with the Predator and whatnot. And I gotta say, man, Amber Midthunder was a really good lead in this film. I hadn't really seen anything else she had done before this, I don't think. Let me see here, check through IMDb just to make sure. I know she was on Legion, apparently, on FX. I didn't watch Legion. I wanted to get around to it, but I just never did. And the first episode didn't really hook me, so it's definitely something I might have to revisit at some point in the future, just to see kind of how it all was put together. And I really love Dan Stevens as an actor, so might have to give it a fair shot one of these days. But yeah, I hadn't seen anything else she had been in, and she's been in Hell or High Water as well, and that's a pretty big achievement to have on your resume, that being an Oscar-nominated, if not Oscar-winning film. So that's a pretty big deal right there. And she was really awesome in this thing. You totally buy into her whole character and the whole arc that she's going on with trying to prove herself and prove that she could be a hunter and she can rise to the occasion like the other men do in the tribe and all that good jazz. While a little cliche, we've definitely seen that before, a little on the nose, I thought overall the way they did her character development and had her arc go throughout the film, from being something in the Predator's rear view, not even paying attention, to becoming kind of his main nemesis by the end of the film, was done in such an organic way. Really love that, and the way that her brother sacrificed himself to get her an advantage, to get away, to end up getting the Predator and taking it back to the tribe and showing them, hey, motherfuckers, I got the head. I'm the shit too. I know what's up. So I really love the way that they played those character dynamics throughout this thing. Definitely enjoyed that. And when it comes to the action and the violence and the gore and all that stuff, while there's a little bit too much CGI blood at times, which I would put as more of a negative if I'm going to throw that in there, the violence, a little bit of a negative on that with the CGI blood. But the action, the choreography, and the way that it's shot, awesome shit, man. This is some of the best Predator hand-to-hand scenes in the entire franchise, dude. Because the original film, while there's some hand-to-hand stuff going on, it's a lot of explosives and gunplay. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not taking anything away from the original. Great classic film. But this one definitely goes more back to basics with the Predator, using arrows, using very limited explosives and types of technological advancements. Since this takes place hundreds of years ago, I do like how the Predator is still way ahead of us, but not as ahead of us, because I think that actually levels the playing field a bit. Because going into this film, I thought initially from the premise, these motherfuckers got missiles coming out of their arms and shit. I'm like, how are they supposed to fight that? This makes a lot more sense. So I definitely dug the way Dan Trachtenberg and them kind of scaled it back a little bit and made it make a bit more sense for this particular film. So definitely like that. And let me see, what else do I want to mention here? Great direction and great pacing throughout this film, man. When it needs to be tense and there needs to be that suspense, it's there. When the action needs to be hitting, it's there. And the film doesn't waste any time. It's really, really well paced and definitely gets you from point A to point B in a very fast paced motion. Didn't really check the time to see, oh man, this is taking forever, like didn't get any of that with this. It was a nice tight hour and 40 minutes or something like that. Hollywood, take notes. Please make shorter movies some goddamn times. This was great, man. Almost the same exact length as the original, so I love that aspect. And just that back to basics whole aesthetic and approach, I think, was definitely a strong suit for this, man. The only real negatives I could really say about this was I didn't like the redesign of the Predator all the way. I liked the body and the way that it was moving around and the weapons and the action and the way that it did that stuff. But the overall look of the face, the way they redesigned it, didn't like it. It made it look a little awkward and kind of weird to me. I've always thought the original Predator films and the way that they designed that Predator looks so much better than this. You know what I'm saying? I know they want to do something different, but I just felt like it looked a little weird. And the overall mask thing, I kind of like the more tribal element that the mask had and the aesthetic, but overall, I just think the original Predator design with the mask and the whole getup just looks cooler. You know what I'm saying? I like they dialed down the weapons, just didn't like the redesign all the way through. And let me see. I think let me see. Is there any other negatives I have to say? Oh yeah, and I did think that the main girl Naru, she was very incompetent with the hunting at first, and I do think that was a little bit uneven the way they portrayed that throughout the film. She always was smart and had a lot of ingenuity in the situations and the predicaments she would find herself in. But overall, I just thought that they didn't maybe make that super well thought out throughout the whole film. So that's kind of the only negatives I really have for this thing. And with the low expectations of it, I'm going to give it a 7.75 out of 10. It's a very solid, fun watch. Throw it on when you get a chance on your Hulu if you're subscribed, if you can get the password from your homie. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink. However you can check it out. I do recommend it. It's a fun time, especially if you like sci-fi or horror or action movies. And if you're a big fan of the Predator films in general or the original, vice versa, this is definitely for you, and I highly recommend it. But make sure you guys stay tuned and don't sleep on any of the dope content we got coming, man. We got She-Hulk right around the corner. House of the Dragon, about to dabble into some Game of Thrones for the first time fully in my life, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Me and my boy Skippy gonna be covering that. And we got a lot of great stuff coming up on the channel, guys. We're gonna be doing more niche, more unique, more underground type films, albums, and TV shows and anime, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that. Don't sleep on any of it. And until next time, guys, stay safe out there. Much love. Peace out.